welcome to an episode of Rediscovered Movies. I'm your host, Nomfanelo. The film that I'll be discussing today is What's Love Got to Do with It? What's Love Got to Do with It is a 2022 British rom com that is directed by Shekhar Kapur, who's known for directing films such as Elizabeth and Bandit Queen. It is written by Jemima Khan, who is known for producing projects such as Joyland and American Crime Story, and this is her screenwriting debut. The film stars Lily James, Shazad Latif, and Emma Thompson. Here is the synopsis. Zoe is a documentary filmmaker who uses a dating app that only delivers an endless stream of Mr. Wrongs. For Zoe's childhood friend and neighbor Kaz, the answer is to follow his parents' example and opt for an arranged marriage to a bright and beautiful bride from Pakistan. As Zoe films his hopeful journey to marry a stranger, she begins to wonder if she might have something to learn from a profoundly different approach to finding love. The film premiered at the Toronto Film Festival on September 10th, 2022, and also at the Rome Film Fest in October 2022, where it won Best Comedy, which is the Ugo Tognazzi Award. So the film was released in theaters in the UK on February 24th, 2023. In terms of box office, it made over $9.8 million worldwide. In regards to critical reception, it has a 2.8 rating on Letterboxd. And at the time of this recording, it is streaming on Paramount Plus, Canopy, and Hoopla, and is also available on demand, so check your local provider. All right, let's get into first discovery. I believe just before the film came out, I did saw a trailer of the film. I think both in theaters and online. I thought, it looks okay, but was not something that I would go rush to see myself. Um, and I remember I did saw like a featurette when I attended this Cineplex theater when I saw a couple movies at the time where it showed like interviews with the cast and crew for this movie. So by the time the movie came out, I didn't rush to go see it, but I thought maybe it's something that I would explore further down the line. And when it came to picking films like for this season, because I was looking for like international rom-coms or romance movies, and this movie kept popping up, and then after recollecting it from the trailers and all this stuff, I decided, you know what, I'll take my chance on this movie. And the first time watching it, honestly, I had mixed thoughts on this movie. I wasn't sure what to make of. I thought the idea to focus on a different perspective of the genre is a cool idea, but just how the film is structured did not work for me. And then I watched it again, second time, and my feelings have not changed for this. But I would say that it has its moments here and there. But I would say that doesn't completely work as in the rom com genre, just based on how the film is presented. But I do like appreciate that it was nice to see the actor Shazad Latif, because I first saw him in Star Trek Discovery with the first season. On my own YouTube channel, I talked about the Star Trek franchise, and I did mention Star Trek Discovery. I really did not like the show, but for one of the positives, I liked his performance in the show based on the episodes that I've seen, and it was nice to see him in a lead role. So yeah, I didn't mind that, and also too was nice to see Lily James back, because I first saw her in the live action remake of Cinderella, which will come up again during this conversation. And I thought they worked well together as the leads in this movie. Now, how they are when it comes to romantics, I will get into that later on. But yeah, essentially, like it has some interesting ideas with this movie, but I wouldn't say it completely works when it comes to the execution. So let's get into the highlights. So I liked how we get to see a different perspective of the genre by integrating here the both the Pakistani and the Middle Eastern, and also to the British culture. So that was nice to see. Like we see it mostly through like the scenes when it comes to the wedding ceremonies. Like for example, at the beginning when Zoe attends the wedding, I believe, of Kaz's brother, which is arranged marriage, and Zoe's mom, played by Emma Thompson, is having the time of her life. And she's having the time of her life in this movie. But and also too later on, in the later half when Kaz has his wedding, and the Eid celebration towards the end of the movie. So I thought, for me, as an outsider, it was nice to see different cultures represented in a Western movie, I suppose. And I would love to, hopefully, we get to see more of that in the future in the rom com genre. And yeah, Emma Thompson, as I mentioned, she's fantastic in this movie. She plays Zoe's mother. She is like having a blast in this movie. Like she always wants to participate in the ceremonies. Like we see her doing like the dance off competition at some point. That was cute. And and yeah, like I thought she did a great job of her performance, and also too with the rest of the actors in this movie did fantastic job on their performances as well. And I also too liked Zoe. So at different points in the movie, she is babysitting the kids of her, I believe it's her friend, and and she always uh, tells like the her versions of classic fairy tales. But how the film shows it is that it mirrors Zoe's dating life. I thought that was hilarious. I thought like what with the Cinderella one was kind of cute, especially since she previously played Cinderella in the Disney live action remake. So I thought that was hilarious. Like, because even though how Zoe is telling the story is not accurate to the source material, but regardless, it's convincing enough for the kids to enjoy. Also, too, what I liked in regards to scenes, when Zoe, Kaz, and the family meet Samo, the matchmaker, I thought that was cute. First off, when they show the poster where says, "Oh, get married," I thought that was hilarious, especially when it's like plastered like on top of this huge billboard just before they get into the office. And clearly like Mo wants to display his business on the cameras, even though Zoe wants Mo to act natural. Like he just can't help himself when he places the plaque in front of the camera like that. So that was hilarious. And yeah, it was interesting for the family in that scene to be very nitpicky when they are telling their requirements for the bride. So yeah, that was interesting. And also, to another scene that I appreciated was when Zoe was nervous as the premiere of the documentary was happening. as a creative, like I get that feeling as well too. Because when I premiered my film, short film Brief for Digi 60, like I was nervous, even though like for me, like it was a virtual experience, so I wouldn't know for sure how people felt. But yeah, like I get that feeling as well too. Nerves, like you hope that people liked it, but you also you better hope for the best, I suppose. And I thought like outside of that, like I think the music cues were nice. And also too, I guess the costumes were cool, and that's pretty much what I have for the highlights essentially. Now let's get into the lowlights. So I want to talk about the title. What's love got to do with it? Because immediately when you see that title, Tina Turner comes to mind. It's not just the song, obviously, but also to the biopic of Tina Turner, which explores her relationship with Ike Turner. So I don't know, like if I don't know if the title for this movie was intentional by the creatives here, or wanted to name it after a Tina Turner song. I'm not too sure, but just for me, it just didn't quite fit because if we're just looking at the title, it doesn't really answer that question per se. Because sure, you could say this movie explores wants versus needs in regards to love. I guess Zoe, like she wants to have the perfect guy when realistically that's not achievable, and would always reject or not go too far with the date she choose. I mean, but with the vet that her mom puts her with, I guess she decided to go along with that for the mother's sake, but maybe also too to not be lonely and all that stuff. And with Kaz, for example, clearly when he is put with my Musha, if I'm saying the name right, Maimuna, yes, Maimuna. So like when he's put with Maimuna to be together, clearly there's no chemistry at all for any of them. But it seems like for Kaz, it's like he has to be with someone to please the family, and I guess also to a society. Because I guess being alone is not ideal, while like being with a partner and having a family, I guess makes them feel included in all that stuff. So yeah, I just feel like the movie could maybe like the movie could have been called Love Contractually, which Zoe brings up during her pitch session with the investors. But I don't know, maybe it's a bit on the nose because it parodies Love Actually, but I would say it's best fitting since it explores the themes of arranged marriage, which I want to get into in this point. So I assume like for a lot of people out there that are not accustomed to arranged marriages will feel a way with this movie because it heavily explores like the I would say more on the pro side of arranged marriage, but also too it shows the cons. But I just felt in terms of that theme, it's not fully clear on its stances with the movie. So it starts off like with arranged marriages being the norm, especially for Kaz, like in his family, since his brother at the beginning was married to someone through arranged marriage. The parents they were together through arranged marriage, and we see that I guess for the brother, like he's happy, I suppose. And like with his parents, I guess they became happier together later on as opposed to instantly. And with Zoe, on the other hand, she's clearly against that stuff. But then, as she's working on the documentary, she decides to accept it, I suppose, because she does not want to be lonely. Question mark. I don't know. But then, as the film is about to wrap up, it just completely tosses arranged marriages to the side and essentially embrace Kaz and Zoe like getting together despite their different backgrounds and all that stuff. So I thought it was funny that Kaz's family keep claiming that they're modern, but based on their thoughts and feelings and their values, it kind of just proves that they're more traditional. So I don't know. I thought when they say they're modern, I didn't get that choice. Um, and also too, like it explores interracial marriage romances because we have with Kaz and Zoe, which I'll get into later on. But Kaz's sister Jamila, she's married to a Caucasian male, and apparently they have been ostracized because of their different cultures and ethnicities. And I just felt, yeah, and also to how that wraps up is that Kaz invites her back to the family when they have the Eid celebration, and the family decides to welcome her and her husband and the baby they bring with welcome arms, which I found was hilarious despite their strong stances on that throughout the movie. So I don't know, like I just felt that there could have been more of a confrontation when it came to those themes, but it just decides to toss all that aside to have a happy ending. That just didn't work out for me. And I don't know, as a rom com, just based on how the film presents itself with those themes, just did not work. Because maybe for with Zoe, perhaps could have, I don't know. I'll get to Zoe's point when I talk about her and Kaz as a couple. But it's just I don't know. I just feel like it just didn't work as a cohesive. Um, because films that come to mind, I feel like tackle those themes more effectively include Coming to America, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, as those are more on the lighter side. But if we're going to go on the more dramatic side, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner would be the top of the list. Because I would say those movies do a more effective job at exploring those themes and how this film decided to tackle it. And yeah, let's get into Zoe and Kaz as a couple. So I don't know. I just feel like because we're in the rom com genre, it should have they should have had like either one of them or both have feelings, romantic feelings for each other, especially since they're friends, like and because they've known each other for quite some time, and because how the film decides to introduce them as a couple just came out of nowhere. Because I believe like is when Kaz and Zoe see the intimate performance is when they start to have feelings for each other. But I just feel like because they're friends, I don't know, like that just came out of nowhere. Because maybe since we are in the genre, I felt like Zoe, for example, could have had the feelings for Kaz from the get go, despite being friends. And then obviously, like when Maimuna comes into the picture, of course, complicates things. So yeah, because since it mostly follows her, I felt like there could have been a more like push and pull effect where like she tries to, I don't know, disrupt that relationship, but at the same time maybe she could have her reservations to not ruin the friendship, as an example. So I felt, yeah, the romance between them what just came out of nowhere. It just felt forced, even though they are the leads, and yeah, of course they'll get back together. It just didn't come out naturally. Um Also too, let's talk about the documentary. So it's documentary. So so I believe she's trying to pitch her, I forgot what the documentary was about, but it was on a heavy subject matter, I suppose. She's trying to pitch it to those two white like investors. I don't know if they're distributors, but essentially they reject it because it's too depressing. And then she decided to spontaneously come up with this idea to do a documentary on Kaz's marriage to Maimuna. And then the investors, they agreed to that, especially when she brings up, oh, it's like love contractually. But I feel like, I don't know, in that case it should have explored, maybe have like different couples explore these different couples. Either they could all be in arranged marriages, or I don't know, or some version of marriages where they were put together, and then have different results to that. And then Kaz and Maimuna could have been one of those couples, I suppose. Because just because just how it's presented, I'm not sure if Zoe's heart is in the right place for this documentary. Because I just wondered, did she actually want to do it? Mm, it doesn't seem that way, to be honest. Because I wondered though, had let's say the film made the stance clear on how either Zoe's feelings or Kaz's feelings on the romance part, if that were more clear earlier, maybe like the documentary could have been an excuse to be closer to one another. Um, but no, it just seemed like she wanted to do the documentary to maybe to explore the idea of arranged marriages, and also despite arranged marriages and being controversial and all that stuff. But yeah, like the documentary aspect of this movie just did not work out for me, because it gets a negative reception from Kaz and his family because they featured Jamila and her husband. It's funny. And then also too, what really got me was that the investors decided to pull out because it was from a white lens, which does not make sense because they approved that documentary in the first place. I don't get it. Plus, like, just based on how the documentary was presented, I didn't see any biases, if you want to call it that. But I don't know, just the idea of them rejecting it because it's a white from a white lens was just an excuse. Because if that were the case, they would not have approved this document to begin with. But whatever. And then also too with the documentary, the camera work could have been better because like I don't get why she's filming it with one camera to begin with. And the way that it's shot, it looked like guerrilla style with the shaky cam, or the position of the camera. I just, yeah, it just did not fit at all. It could have been better on that front. Because honestly, though, like with Zoe, she should have just done this independent style. Because clearly the investors were not going to be on board to begin with. So she could have just done this independent style, try to raise money, either find outside investment, or just put it out on YouTube or something. She could have done this on her own, but you know, the movie had other ideas. And also too, I felt like, since it is partly a comedy, I felt the comedy could have been utilized more in some places to add more energy. Like, for instance, when Kaz is participating in the whole matchmaking event, I felt like that could have been an opportunity to have the potential suitors be wacky. Like, they don't have to be over the top, but they could have been like a bit out there that could have made Kaz like sweat, be like more like intimidated, since like this is, his first time in the dating life by choice, by force. And also too, when Kaz and Maimuna have their Skype conversation, there could have been more uses of the family from both ends to interject, where they could try to make them convinced to say something or do something, essentially. Because I don't know, I just felt kind of bored, to be honest, when I watched that scene until the family, pops out. I just felt that there was more opportunities there to make it more, I don't know, energetic, I suppose. And lastly, when Kaz and Maimuna are on their date at the movie theater, it looked like they were watching the Liam Neeson movie, The Commuter, which is not the ideal movie to see on a date. Because if I were to guess who made that choice, it was probably Kaz. Because I believe the actor is in that movie as well too. It's been a while since I saw that movie, but I believe he's in that movie. So I don't know. Maybe they decided to put it there because he's in that movie. I don't know. But I just, as a date, no. I just like no, because I would say Paddington would have been a better choice, but the commuter, I thought that was hilarious. Now let's get into trivia. So I couldn't find a lot of fun facts, but here's what I could find on IMDb. So, in a June 2022 profile of Emma Thompson in the New York Times Magazine, Nicole Sperling reported that Thompson's role in this movie was created specifically for her. Quote, the writer Jemima Khan told Thompson that she had always wanted the actress to be her mother, so she wrote her a role in this movie. And yeah, as I said, Emma Thompson did a great job. She was essentially the life of the party in this movie. So also too, Lily James and Shazad Latif have been friends for a long time in real life. So yeah, like because I say as friends in this movie, they work. As romance partners, not so much. Just based on how the film is presented. And lastly, filming started 2 years before the film was released. A test screening in late 2021 resulted in the film being re edited and some additional filming required. A second test screening in 2022 led to some more changes being made before a final cut was decided on. Gee, now I wonder though, like in this case, what was how this version, the final product, differed from the initial version of the film. Because I don't know, I think like if we're looking at this tonally, it's very like comedic, light and fluffy in the first half, but then as we're getting into the wedding and all that stuff, it comes a bit more serious. So I don't know if that effect occurred because of test screenings. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think like tonally there needed to be more balance. All right, now the important question: should this movie be rediscovered? And just based on my feelings on it that I expressed, no. because I would say the execution just did not work for me at all as a rom com. I would say, like, when it comes to the idea of exploring different cultures and all that stuff, yes, I'm all for that. I appreciate that stuff. But in terms of the conventions and how they were utilized in this movie, it did not work for me at all. The romance between the leads was just forced, it did not happen organically. And the themes, when it came to the arranged marriage and the interracial romances, needed to be more defined in regards to its position and be presented more effectively. So that pretty much concludes this episode of the podcast. So you can find me on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at Numphy Malloy. You can find the podcast on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at RD Movies Pod. If you want to support the podcast, you could donate on buymeacoffee.com/RD Movies Pod. On Spotify app, you can answer the feature poll, leave a comment, and rate the podcast. On Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review and rate the podcast. And you can submit questions, comments, and suggestions by email, which is rediscoveredmovies@gmail.com, to be featured on the after show, which will air after the season finale. All the links to the stuff will be available in the description. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.